Hey, y'all, let's cover. We're still in percentages and exponential functions, but we're to the point where we're doing absolute and relative change. So, given two quantities, absolute change is just the ending quantity minus the starting quantity. What I find that works best for students if I use new minus old. So I gave you the words that I like to use when I'm how I originally learned this was the new value minus the old value. Absolute change also, you need to understand, has the same exact units as the original quantities. So it's going to have the same unit, all right, as the numbers that you're using. Relative change is the absolute change, so new minus old, divided by the starting quantity, the old. But then that's a decimal. You need to change it to a percent by multiplying by 100 because relative change always gives the percent change. Okay, so don't forget your percent symbol for your unit. So in this next one, the first example here, it says the population of a town increased from 3,850 in 2005 to 5,900 in 2012. By what percent did the population increase during those years? Well, they're asking for the percent change. So that's relative change. We're going to go ahead and do both because whenever I'm doing a question on your exam, I'm going to ask for both. So for your absolute change is going to be your new quantity minus your old quantity. And the new quantity just has to do with years. So 3850 happened in 2005. 5900 happened in 2012. So this is your new and this is your old. Once you get these written, what's new and what's old, you never have to go back and read this again. So 5900 minus 3850. Oh, oh, of course it's an error. 5900 minus 3850, 2050. I could have done that myself. Yeah. So again, say I'm answering this on an exam. I would say the population increased because it's positive. Population, you're going to use either increased or decreased, depends upon if it's positive or negative. The population increased by 2050. That's all you need to say. Okay. People, folks, population, we already know has to do with people. We could say people if you want, if it makes you feel better. All right, let's do the relative change. And this is always the percentage, which is the new minus old divided by the old times 100. Well, we've already done the new minus old, and that's 2050. Over the old, which is 3850. Notice I didn't have to go back and reread the question because I wrote who was what. All right, so now I need to do is 2050, which I already have in my calculator, divided by 3850 times 100. And I got 53.247. What are we rounding to? It doesn't say. So we decided in class to round to the 10th place. So that would be 53.2%. Because that times 100 made it a percent. All right, let's answer it. By what percent did the population increase? The population increased by 53.2%. There's your answer. Let's go to the next one. All right, the price of a latte dropped from $3.12 to $3. Find the absolute and relative change for the price of a latte. So we're going to need new and old. The price of the latte dropped from, so this is the old price, to the new price. Find the absolute change in relative. The absolute is equal to new minus old. Well, new is $3 minus old is 312. And it dropped by 12 cents. Okay, I'll write my sentences at the end. Now, the relative price, all right, so there's the relative change, is the new minus old, which is the absolute, divided by the old, 312, times 100 to change that to a percent. I've already got the negative 0.212 in here, divided by 312, times 100. Pardon me, y'all. And I got negative 3.8. Now I can write my sentences. The absolute change, remember, it is the same as the original price way it was written. So that's dollars was the absolute change decreased by, well, the decrease takes care of the negative. So I don't need to put negative 12 cents. I just need to put my dollar sign with my correct writing. I could have written 12 cents. I could have written it either way. Okay. Consistency is always best for this class and for life, honestly. So just get in a habit of using this probably because you're going to use it for money for most of the time. Okay. So for relative change, the price, I should have written price change, the relative price change. I don't know what I'm writing here. It decreased. The price decreased by, changed by decreasing. Y'all can write your own sentence, probably better than I can. 3.8%. And I forgot my percent symbol there. Okay. Notice I did not put the negative here as well. That's because this word decreasing makes up for me not putting my negative sign. And I don't want to see negative signs on these types of answers because you have a lovely word called decreased. Okay. I want you to pause the video and do this next one yourself and then come back and see how I did it. I want you to, Teresa's annual income increase from 31,000 to 48,000. Find your new and your old. Find the absolute change and the relative change for Joe's annual income. Pause the video and then come back and see how I did it. All right. So, oh, I see here. Teresa and Joe. Let's just make this easy. Let's make it Joe's annual income. Gosh, y'all. So this is her old value or his old value. I'm going to call Joe a female. And this is her new value. Facts of life. All right. So for absolute, what's going on with me? New minus old. 48,000 minus 31,000. 17,000. Make sure, because I'm going to need that anyways. 48,000 minus 31,000. 17,000. All right. And then the relative change is going to be the absolute change divided by the old value times 100. I've already got the absolute change in here, divided by the 31,000 times 100. And it's 54.8%. Okay, well, we can see that it increased because they're both positive. All right. So what we would say is Joe's annual income increased. Now, I'm not going to give you this word on the exam. I'm not. You're going to have to realize that because it's positive, it's increasing. Increased by, well, what is this 17,000 representing? Dinero. So we need our dollar sign. So that takes care of the absolute change. The relative change is Joe's annual income increased by, and now we're going to provide a percentage. Now the word increased is taking care of the fact that it's positive, and I'm going to just say 54.8%. Yes, in both of these, you could say the years if they were given, like in the 2 years, the two problems before this, but because it wasn't given when, just go with this. All right, a shirt that was originally marked for $24.95 rings up at a register for $19.96. What is the percent discount on the shirt? Okay, well, what's the new and what's the old value? Shirt was originally marked, so that's the old value, and rings up at this. This is the new value. So we're finding just the relative. I'm going to have to find the absolute anyway, so let's just do both. Absolute and relative. Absolute is new minus old, so 1996 minus 24.95. And I got negative 4.99. And then the relative is going to be the absolute, negative 4.99, divided by the old, 24.95, times 100. Negative 20. Fantastic. So to answer the question, and I'm not going to do the absolute part, I could add there and add it into if I want to. The shirt has a 20% discount. You could say that, or you could say decreased by 20%. To answer the question, it would be, because the question is, what is the percent discount on the shirt? So the shirt has a 20% discount. Of $4.99. I think that's nice. That works great. All right, the U.S. Weather Bureau has a station in Mauna Loa, Hawaii, that has measured carbon dioxide levels since 1959. At that time, there were 307 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. In 2005, the figure was 391 parts per million. Find the increase in carbon dioxide levels and the percent of increase. Round to the nearest 1/10 of a percent. So we're looking for absolute and relative. I know that because they're wanting us to find the increase as well as the percent of increase. So that's both absolute and relative change. So absolute is going to be the new minus old. So first we need to find that. The 307 is going to be my, it happened in 1959, so that's old. And 391 happened in 2005, so that's my new. So new minus old, 307. $84. Relative change is the absolute divided by the old, 307, times 100 to make it a percent. We already have the 84 in there, divided by 307 times 100 is 27.4. Note that that's a 3, but the 6 is greater than 5, so we add 1 to 3. 27.4%. All right, these are both increasing. So what's the question? Find the increase in the levels. The CO2 levels increased, takes care of my positive, by 84 parts per million, right? Parts per million. And let's do that. 27.4%. That takes care of both. Let me know what questions you have. All right. Oh, this one's kind of fun. So Anthony and his son Johnny are exercising more regularly and keeping track of their weight loss. Both Anthony and Johnny lost 10 pounds. From this information alone, can we determine if they both lost the same percentage of weight? Yes, no, this is your decision. Pause the video and think about it. Give yourself some time to really think about this, then come back. Okay, no, there's no way to find the percentage because we don't know what they started with. They both lost 10 pounds, fantastic. But what were they starting with? Because that's how you find the percentage. So no, we cannot determine. We need the starting weights, or I need the starting weight. All right, suppose Anthony's starting weight is 190 pounds and Johnny's starting weight is 155 pounds. Who lost the larger percentage of their starting weight? Well, percentage is relative change. So we're going to split it down the level. We'll have Anthony. Actually, I'm going to need a place for writing my sentences. So I'm just going to do this. Johnny. And the starting weight's 190 for Anthony. So that's his old weight. Johnny's starting weight was 155. That's his old weight. And their new weight is 10 pounds less. So Anthony's new is 180. And Johnny's new is 145. So now I can find the absolute or the percentage that we're looking for. So relative change is new. So 180 minus old, 190, divided by old times 100 for the percentage. Johnny's new minus old, sorry about the snoring in the background, that's my dog, divided by old times 100 for Johnny. All right. 180 minus 190 equals, divided by 190 equals times 100 is negative 5.26. I'm going to leave it a little bit further out for now, just because I don't know how close they're going to be. And this is percent. Johnny's is negative 6.45. Who lost a larger percentage of weight of their starting weight? Well, Johnny did. Johnny lost a larger percentage. Of their starting weight. Now, do I need to put these in here? No, because I've already shown the work to prove this answer. If you had instead just written this with no proof, it's wrong. Because you could have just been guessing. You know, you have to show me that you've worked the magic. Okay. Got to map the math. That's what we're doing here. We're mathing to problem solve. All right. Let me know what questions you have on this. This is kind of fun. Let's go to the next one. When talking about change of quantities that are already measured in percentages, we have to be careful in how we describe the change. So up until now, absolute change has always been what's provided as the units. So it's either pounds or dollars or things like that. And relative change has been percent. Relative change will always be percent. That won't change. The one and only time that you need to worry about absolute change is when you have a percent in the original values. And that's what we're going to talk about next. If quantities are in percent, as what we're going to deal with here. All right. The absolute change will not be a percent because that's not accurate. It will be a percentage points. This will be on your exam. You are required to know this for this class. Your absolute change, if it is a percent in the original values, it has to be a percentage points for your absolute. And then, of course, your relative change is going to maintain being a percent. Where you see this the majority of the time is during elections. You'll hear them talk about percentage points, and then they'll hear something about percents. And if you don't have the knowledge base that percentage points is just the actual change from one number to the next. That's all it is. It's not truly a percent. All right. A company calls to notify you that the interest rate on your credit card will increase from 16% to 18%. So this is your old and this is your new. We're going to find the absolute change is new minus old, which is 2. And to write the sentence, we're going to write, and this is the one that's the most different out of everything you're going to see for this, is the absolute change, or we'll say this, the interest rate increased because it's positive. The interest rate increased by 2, not percents, even though this says percents, it's 2 percentage points. Be very careful with this, and this will be on your test. Determine the percent of relative change. So we've already got the absolute. New minus old divided by old. That's how I learned it, y'all. Times 100. It was always new minus old divided by old times 100. That's how I learned it in high school or wherever we learned it. So 2 divided by 16. I've already got, oh, I don't have it. 2 divided by 16 times 100. And that's 12.5. And this is a percent because we multiplied by 100. All right. So we're going to say the interest rate again increased because it's positive by 12.5%. Let me know what questions you have. Please make sure you have percentage points written on that note card because you know you're going to forget it. Okay. It's not going to stick with you. You're going to be stressed out enough on the exam. All right. Or do it enough to where you feel comfortable with it. Percent increase and decrease. All right. So this is different. I want to do a different video for this one. So we'll stop right here and I'll come back and make another one.